All right. So, good evening, everybody. Here we are. It's week two. And I'd like to start off tonight by talking a little bit about the discussion, which basically is a debate, a little bit of a debate about what makes an effective or ineffective infographic. What makes an infographic work? What does not make an infographic work? I'd like to start off by saying that I have added my thoughts to the discussion already, and you can take a look at what I had to say there. I don't intend to read everything. I'm going to let you do that, but what I will do is I will go over the prompt just a little bit so that you are pretty clear as to where we're heading with this. So, yeah, research what makes an effective or unsuccessful infographic. Post an example of each. So what that means essentially is you're going to research what makes an effective infographic. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to have no trouble if you I'm just going to throw out, you do a Google search. You're going to have no trouble whatsoever coming up with a whole lot of information, or opinion, I should say, about what makes an effective and, in fact, an ineffective infographic. You're also going to have no trouble finding images, because I did this, and you're going to have no trouble finding images that will display for you what a good infographic looks like, or I should say an effective infographic looks like, and there are many. And then even some that are really not effective. So you shouldn't have any trouble. You're going to find one of each, one that is good and one that's not good. You're going to post that example of each, compare the two, and explain in your own words, based on what you've read about what's effective as an infographic and what's ineffective, what makes your choice good and not good, okay? So that's really the gist of it. It's not that big of a deal if you understand where you're going and just do a little bit of research. What are you getting out of the story it's telling? I'm going to say one very important thing to you, and that is that a good infographic needs to, number one, tell a story, and number two, it should tell one very clear, cohesive story. It should be a single story. It shouldn't be multiple stories. There should be one solid story, and you shouldn't have to put any more into it than you absolutely need to tell that story. As far as how the design principles apply, you can word this any way you want, but the flat-out truth is that such things as design principles, color, the impact of color, and typographic choices, these are the core tools that you use as a graphic designer. So I don't care what you're doing. I don't care what type of project you're working on. You have to have in your mind at least, and you should be trying to in some manner apply the principles of design as you know them to exist. And as far as color is concerned, and as far as typography is concerned, I'm just going to give you an example on both. First of all, there's color for the web, RGB, and there's color for CMYK, or print. Now, it's very important that you understand when you're working on something that's going to be used, or the media that it's going to be used in is print, you need to be using, more than likely, unless the printer gives you specific instructions to do otherwise, if you're doing something for print, you're working with CMYK color. So that's just one of many impacts that color has on a project. Just as when you're working with color for web, you're not going to be using CMYK color for the web. It doesn't work. What you have to do is you have to use RGB color. Again, that's one impact that color has on your project. Now, I'm going to do this again with typography on a very simple level. When you are working in print, there's a different appearance to text than when you're working on the web. I'm looking at my page right here, and you can see that they're using a sans serif font for this. It's all sans serif. Now, there's a reason for that. The reason they use sans serif fonts is that, generally speaking, they tend to render better on a device like a monitor. Now, I'm not saying you can't use serif fonts. You could use like a slab serif font. That would render very nicely. And there are some fonts that you could probably use, and there are people that do use serif fonts. But as a general rule, it is recognized that sans serif fonts appear better when you're working with something that's going to be put online. Now, if you're going to be working with body copy in some sort of a piece, like let's say you're going to make an ad or a brochure, and the brochure has a good bit of copy associated with it, chances are you're going to be using a serif font for that, because serif fonts tend to read a little bit better in print. So, I mean, again, they're asking you basic questions here. These questions are not difficult. As a matter of fact, you can use what I've just said as a basis for your discussion, and maybe look a little further to see if you could come up with some more information to support what I just said. But I'm telling you fairly honestly about the whole thing. Now, for your citation, and keep in mind, you gotta use citation in this. You'll get grade reduction if you don't put citation in, and some of you fail to do that. So I'm just reminding you that you have to do an inline citation, and you have to do a reference at the end of your topic, your main topic. Now, here's another suggestion. You can either take it or you don't have to take it. If you use a reference, I'm going to scroll down because I think I did it. I'm going to scroll down and show you mine. There's my reference. Let me see. There it is. Do you see my reference? Right there's my reference. Now, if you don't do this, it's not the end of the world, but if you notice what I did with my reference, I separated my reference entirely from my own thoughts. I indented it, I bolded it, and I used an italic as well, and I colored it, all so that my reference stands visually apart. Again, all of this is done thinking as a designer. How do I utilize the elements in my story to best advantage? So everybody, I recognize that everybody that puts a citation in a reference, an inline reference like this, generally what you do is you just basically put it in there. All I'm suggesting is give it a little more thought, give it a little more emphasis, give it a little more importance, make it stand out a little more like I did. Again, I added space before and after it, I indented it, I bolded it, I added color to it, and I italicized it, all just so that it stands out, all right? So, am I going to fail you if you don't do these things? No. But my goal here is to try to help you, try to give you some things that are going to make you a better person overall when you do your work. That's what really my goal is here. So again, for your citation, you might want to use an article that shows examples of good balance or bad typography, or just talk in general about what that means. What does color mean to an infographic? What does balance mean to it? Just whatever you want your citation to be about, I'm sure you're going to find something. You'll have no trouble in finding it. Be sure to embed or link your graphics and cite your resources. I really would like you to embed the graphics right into your submission. It's much more professional that way, and it's eminently doable. How to upload an image to my files to embed into a discussion. There's your link right there for any of you that might not know how to do that. But by now, I think you guys should know how to do this. This is a 200 level course. I am absolutely certain that in another course at some point you've done this. So it's not something that you've never done before. I doubt it. I think everybody probably has done it. If you have any questions, though, there's a link right there that shows you how to do it, or how to embed an image in a discussion. There's also another link that you can look at. Your initial and reply post should work to develop a group understanding of the topic. Guys, do me a favor. Don't just say, oh, good thoughts, like what you said, like your visual, thanks a lot, goodbye. Tell us what you think. Tell us what is it that was said by the person that you are discussing that you found interesting or compelling, or that you support or argue. And there's no reason that you can't argue with somebody as long as you do it in a professional and a productive way. I mean, you don't want to be nasty, but you certainly can enter into a debate from a negative standpoint. There's no problem with that, okay? So again, just think about this when you're discussing with people. It's just a moment where you're going to say 50 words. Thanks for submitting that. I think it was great. You know, you tell us something about what you think about what you saw the other student had put into their discussion. All right. And do 2 of them. Remember, and do 2 of them. And keep in mind, too, that this is a discussion, and discussions are something that should be happening earlier in the week, not at the last minute. I mean, if you wait until Saturday and you put your main topic in, and you put two discussions in on Saturday at the end of the day, who's going to get a chance to do any kind of debate with you? How is anybody going to reply to that? It's there at the last minute. You know, it almost, if everybody did that, then what would happen is there would be no debate. There'd be nothing. There would just be a lot of people randomly talking about something, and there would have been no back and forth on any points whatsoever. And that totally defeats the idea of a discussion forum. Okay, so I understand that there are times when it's going to happen to you. I mean, if something happens in your life, I mean, somebody gets sick, or you get sick, or you get injured, or you get thrown out of your house and you have to scramble to move somewhere else. You know, there's many different things that could happen. I totally get that. But not everybody is having these things happening. And some people just are not budgeting their time properly. So all I'm saying is try to do the best you can to make yourself look like you really care about the course. That's what it really comes down to. I try to do my best to prove to you that I care about the course and that I care about you, which I do. I care very greatly about you, and I care about the course that I teach. As a matter of fact, I try to help you in ways to get through what you have to do, and at the same time show you some things about the program I'm working in that maybe you don't know about. You know, I don't say that you know everything, and I don't have anybody in the room right now, so I can't ask anybody any questions about what they know or what they don't know. When somebody's in the room, I can, but if nobody's in the room, I just go under the assumption that, you know, whatever I'm showing you has a value, and either you know it or you don't. And if you don't know it, you're going to learn something new. And if you do know it, you're going to at least see it again, and maybe that'll help make it stick in your mind a little bit better, you know? All right. So, you know, again, just read the reply requirements here, you know. Let's see what it says if I can read it quickly. The due dates and participation requirements for this course. Submit your main post of 150 words, guys, 150 words with 1 APA citation and referencing, and then 2 follow-up posts of at least 50 words. Responses can be addressed to both your initial thread and other threads, but must be in your own words, no copy and paste. Each unique and no repeating something what you've already said, and substantial in nature. What they mean by substantial in nature is it's a discussion. So tell us what you think specifically about the topic that you are critiquing. What did the student say or present to you that you find interesting, valid, or helpful? You know, that's what this is all about. Okay? So again, I urge you to go in, and I urge you to read this whole thing very carefully so that you understand what's going on. My goal was to just give you some idea of how to handle this, and I do that every time we have a class the first night, because I want to give you some ideas, if I can, as to how to approach your discussion. All right, I'm going to get rid of this thing right now. Let me get rid of my video. There we go. And I'm going to move on. Let me move on. Actually, move back to, let's go to assignments. Tonight, we're going to be working on the assignment for week number 2, which is creating a custom infographic. Now, last week, what we did was we put together a presentation which gave us an idea, which gave us an idea of what we're going to be working on. Okay, I mean that was what last week's assignment was. We produced a proposal basically, and that proposal was to get us a poster and to give us an idea of the direction that we might go with the poster, what kind of colors we might use, what kind of graphics we may employ to make this story happen. You know, so that's basically what last week was. This week, what we're actually going to do is we're going to dive in and we're going to create the graphic, all right? So let me get down to the prompt. Again, you should read all this. I'm not going to go through it because, you know, it'll take a lot of time. But let me get down to the prompt real quickly. This week, you're going to take your plan from week 1's assignment, which, again, was that proposal that I'm talking about, and bring it to action by designing a final infographic. So right now, you're going to design the infographic that you were talking about last week. Use your content strategy and outline to design an infographic poster depicting the internet usage across the world. And there it is. And the information that we're using basically is this information right there. That is pretty much what you need to do this. You know, you can take a look at some of the other graphics that they used here, but if I'm not mistaken, this is where they're getting those graphics from right there. So this is the information that you should be paying attention to. I mean, you have World Internet Usage and Population Statistics, December 31st, 2017 update. You know, that could be a title. You know, I'm going to show you how I handled it shortly, but that's your information, okay? The important thing for you to understand in the assignment instructions is that your document size is going to be 11 by 17 inches. That's the important thing for you to know. It doesn't matter whether you go portrait or landscape. That's completely up to you. How you do it is up to you. It's telling you, and this is incredibly important, and it goes back to one of the reasons why I was so specific last week to urge you people to do the work in Adobe Illustrator. A lot of you went out and you did the work in those other free infographic or chart and graph generators. And I graded you and I had no trouble with that because, you know, you did it, you did the job, and some of them were fairly nice. But I just want to point out to you again here, it's telling you specifically, create the infographic in Illustrator. You know, when it's telling you to work in a very specific application, there's a reason for it. They want you to learn more about Adobe Illustrator. And I want to be able to teach you everything I can about Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to try to do that. Use your content strategy from week 1. That is why I was saying to you it was very important for you to think about a strategy, to come up with a strategy for week 2. Because again, now you're going to put this thing to visual. You're going to put this thing into a visual state. You're going to actually make this thing happen. Arrange the content as clear and an understandable story. One clear, clean story. Use the graphing tools in Illustrator to create and customize the visuals for your graph. I did that. I'm going to be talking about that shortly and working on that a little bit. Be sure to include the source of data. No APA formatting needed, but you can reference across the bottom and put the website in, which would be no problem. Very often you'll find a website link or web link on a poster, so there's no problem with that. Very important to use the principles of design. As I was saying to you just a little before in the discussion, I don't see how anybody as a graphic designer could do anything without at least involving the principles of design on some level, okay? Consider the components that you've learned so far about an effective infographic. The project will be hypothetically intended for print. So here, now look, it's telling you to choose the CMYK color mode. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to show you a couple of ways that you could handle that, okay? The submissions, it's going to be a PDF. If you take a look at the first line, it's a PDF, and it's going to be Design 240, your assignment number 2, and your first and last name. And the PDF file should be in CMYK for grading. Now, if you produce your colors correctly, okay, you should be in CMYK. Add a JPEG of the project to your Behance portfolio site and copy and paste the link into the submission comment field. I assume you all know how to do that. So there, basically email a link to your FPA and CC myself. Always keep your native working files for future revisions. What that means essentially is after you get done doing this project, you'll have an AI file. Put that somewhere where you can go and find it at some future date if you want to amend it and maybe use it in a portfolio or something. You will need them when you reach your portfolio or capstone class. All right, and that's basically the instructions. Now, one more very brief thing before I jump in and start working on my week 2 assignment. Tomorrow night, let me go to assignments again. Tomorrow night, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working on our assessment using vector graphing tools. Now, I will be doing a little bit of work with vector graphing tools tonight, but tomorrow night I'm going to show you how to handle the assignment. There's a specific assignment that's involved in this assessment. So I'm going to be doing that tomorrow night. I'll be working on that tomorrow night. But tonight I'm basically going to be focused on creating the infographic. So I just thought I'd mention that before I go any further. Okay? All right. So let's go into Adobe Illustrator. And we'll start off by taking a look at my poster. This is a poster that I did, about a year ago. I did this about a year ago, and it was for this class. And you know, after I looked at this, I did a decent job with it, but, you know, I thought about it later on, and I thought I might have been able to do this a little bit better. Really doesn't matter all that much, though, because I think it works as a nice visual, and my goal here is not to make the most incredible poster design. My goal here is to do things that will inspire you and make you feel more comfortable working in Adobe Illustrator. I got the impression from speaking to a couple of you that, you know, you're not super advanced with Adobe Illustrator. So basically what I'm going to try to do is my best to do a bunch of things over the next couple of weeks involving the programs that we get to work with. This week, pretty much it's Adobe Illustrator, but next week and week 4, we'll not only be working with Adobe Illustrator, we'll also be working with Adobe InDesign. So I will get the opportunity to show you how to do things in Adobe InDesign. And we're going to do some really fun things next week. I actually created already my project that I'm going to show you and demonstrate how to do. And it works, and it's very cool. And I think you'll really enjoy the end result if you're, you know, willing to go through the process of doing the project. If you do the project, you're going to be really impressed with what you come out with. The graphic that you create for the kiosk and how you put it online will function, and it's pretty exciting to see that. And as an added bonus, I'm going to show you how to do something very similar with an Adobe PDF file, so that what you have is you have the same basic functionality that you have in your kiosk in an Adobe PDF file. So it's a very cool thing, and it's something that you should know how to do. So that's what we'll be working on next week and our final week. Okay, now here's what I want to do. Before I actually start working on this, I just wanted to let you take a look at this so that you could see where I'm heading. All right, before I do this though, I am going to go back in and I'm going to go File, New. And I'm going to create a brand new document. All right, and it's going to be a print document right here. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to set the width. I want this to be I want it to be landscape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the width to be 11. I'm sorry, 17. Wrong, 17. width is 17, and the height is 11. Okay, I'm going to put in a bleed, all right, and the bleed is going to be 0.125, 0.125 inch. Now, IN. Now, what I'm doing this for, the reason I'm putting in a bleed is because this project is supposed to be in print. And if you're actually going to print something in real time, you have to have some parts of it bleed. Like, for instance, if you go back and take a look at my poster, I have this nice background image of a what looks like lines of an internet connection. That would have to bleed all the way around. So what I'm trying to do is, on a certain level, I'm trying to do this thing correctly so that you know the correct way to handle it. Okay, so just keep in mind that the width is going to be 17 inches. The height is going to be 11. The orientation is going to be landscape. There's only going to be one artboard. And I'm going to set this with the link to, this is the bleed, to 0.125 IN, which is 125 IN is equal to 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to have a bleed of 1/8 of an inch, which is a standard number for bleeding. Okay. Now when I go create, I get that. Now what you're looking at here is the white area is the actual live area of my poster. There's a black line there at the very edge, which is very hard to see against the gray. But that little black line there, that represents what's known as the trim line. That's where the actual poster cuts out of the larger piece of paper. That little red line that you see right there, that's the bleed line. And I don't know whether or not you know this. I have no idea. I'm sure at some point somebody has mentioned this to you. They should have. Anyway, your image, if it's going to go to the edge or to the trim, needs to go 1/8 of an inch further in order for it to trim properly. Okay? So I just wanted to give you a brief explanation and show you how to set this up. Now, the very next thing that I would do, since this is a new document, a brand new document, and I've done nothing to it, I just created it. The next thing I would do is I would come up here to my swatches, and I'm going to drag this out so that you can actually see this. When you create a new document, you get all these colors in here, okay? And in our case, if you can think back to what you did last week, you suggested a color scheme. You suggested several colors that you're going to use in your poster. Well, I can pretty much guarantee you 100% that those colors are not in there. So the first thing that I always do when I work on a project that has very specific colors in mind is I get rid of all these colors and I replace them with the proper colors that I'm going to use. So I am going to show you how to do that. You come over to this little menu. This is your drop-down menu for the swatches panel. And if you come down, you'll see where it says select all unused. You see it right there? When you click on that, all of these little colors get a highlight around them. Can you see that? When you have those highlighted, you hit the garbage can or the delete swatch button, and you'll get this little message saying, do you want to delete the swatch selections? Well, yeah, of course I do. So I'm going to hit yes, and they're all gone. Now, for some odd reason, this one little color doesn't go away, so I will select that and I will delete that. Okay, and I want to delete it. Yes. So now I have no colors in here. Now I have two colors. I have a green color, which is a Pantone color, which I've chosen, and I also have a blue color, which is I think it's a cyan color. Yeah, cyan. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to get those two colors. Now I could come in here and double click my swatch, and I could put in CMYK numbers right here if I wanted to, or I could drag around like this if I wanted to, but that would be really hard. There's an easier way to do it. If you take a look at the icons across the bottom here, you see the one that says Swatch Libraries menu? Well, if you click on that, there's inside here, there's a bunch of different choices. One of the choices here is the color books. these are all your color books. Now, this is print. Keep in mind, this is print. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the color books, and I am going to go for this one right here, which is Pantone Plus CMYK coated. The reason that I'm choosing this is because more than likely my poster will be printed on a coated stock. And what this library offers me is colors that work both in Pantone and CMYK. So if I let go, there's my library of colors. Now, this might even be my color right here. Yeah, it is. As a matter of fact, my color is Pantone P 133-16C. That was one of the colors that I chose for my project. So I'm going to double click on that, and it puts it in there. Now I'll deal with this shortly, but I want to scroll around and show you. There's tons and tons and tons of colors in here. Matter of fact, I'm sure you can find whatever color you want. But I've decided on this green color, which is Pantone P133-16C. That was one of my colors. The other color I chose is this guy right here. I chose Process Cyan. Those are my colors. Now, the other color that I chose is black. That's my three colors that I'm using. And, of course, I'm also using white, all right? Now, again, this is not difficult to do. You can basically just go through here, pick a color or two colors or three colors, however many colors that you want, and you just basically, click on the color, and the color automatically goes into your swatch library for you to use. All right. Now, I don't want that color, so I'm going to delete it by putting it in the garbage can, and yes. Okay. So I hope you understand that. I'm going to minimize this thing and put it over here, I guess. Let's put it over here. Will it go in there? No, it won't. Let me just close it then. Okay. Now, one more thing I just want to show you here is that when you take a look at these colors, notice that the cyan and the green have that little chip in the corner. See the little white chip in the corner? Well, that's telling you something. It's very important for you to understand that that's telling you something. Basically, what it's telling you is that that's a CMYK color. If I double-click on one of these colors, I get the Swatch Options dialog box. Now, it tells me the name, Pantone P, Process Cyan C. It also shows me the color type, which in this case is Process Color. And it also shows you a color mode, which is RGB. It shows you the color. It's processed, but it's also available in RGB. It also tells me that the color that I chose does not work in both process or RGB. So if I wanted this to be for print, all right, I would click on that. If I want this to be for the web, I'd click on that, and it would adjust the color. I'm not going to do this. I'm happy with the color the way it is. I'm going to leave it alone. All right? But I just wanted to give you some idea about this. And if you want to see, here's RGB, what it looks like. It's R is 0, G is 174, and B is 239. If I wanted to change this to CMYK, I get 69.23 for the cyan, 14.38 for the magenta, 0 for yellow, and 0 for black. That's how that cyan color that I'm using is made up. Okay, that's the color that I'm using. And again, I'm going to hit cancel because I don't really want to change anything. My color is Pantone P Process Cyan C. This one here is Pantone P 133-16C. Now, you are not going to have those numbers when you go in because I did this already, and I'm just trying to get the colors that I want. I'm going to show you how easy it is to get those colors. When you do it, you'll pick your colors, and then you'll have different numbers, okay? But you'll have the colors that you want. So there's your swatches. That's the first thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that back into my swatch panel. Now, there's one more thing that I'm going to do before I start working, and that is I'm going to open up my layers panel. As it stands right now, and this is a very important thing that a lot of people don't always do, and I just want you to understand that as a graphic designer, I don't care whether I'm working in Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop. If you're working in Photoshop, you almost absolutely have to use layers. There's just no way that you're going to work effectively in Photoshop without using layers. But many people fail to use layers in Adobe Illustrator. And as a matter of fact, many people fail to use layers in Adobe InDesign as well. Whereas I tend to use layers in both of those programs. And the reason I do that is because overall it makes it easier for me to organize and lock elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by making 3 more primary layers. Now there's 2 types of layers. There's a subgroup layer and a primary layer. The subgroup layer you can have more than one subgroup layer on a layer. But you can have only one primary layer, and then you have to have another primary layer, another primary layer, and another primary layer. So I'm going to create 3 primary layers. So now I have 4. The first layer that I'm going to produce is what I'm going to call my background layer. Background layer. Now, the next layer I'm going to have is my graphics layer. Graphics layer. The next layer I'm going to have is my text layer. Text layer. And my 4th layer, which is the topmost layer, I'm going to call that my guides layer. Whoops. Guides layer. Okay, so here's the deal. The deal is that I'm going to start off by I'm going to build a background. I'm going to get a couple of images. If you take a look at my, let me see where we at here. If you take a look at my, whoops, that's not the right one. Let's see if I can get it over a little. I can't. Oh, there's so many things happening up here. I can't even get to it. All right, well, anyway, let me go back. All right, well, I can show you from there. Yeah, see, my background layer is made up of a black area and a photo. That's my back area. If I hide these, see, look at it. I got my guides, I got type. I have this layer called clip mask because I added that for a special purpose. But if I close all these layers off, you can see that each layer has stuff on it. There's my background layer. So on my background layer, I have a picture, and I have this area down at the bottom here, which is my, which is part of my background image. All right. So let me go back over to here, and so I actually have background, graphics, text, and guides. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Place, and I make sure that I'm on my background layer. That's the first thing. On the background layer, File, Place. And I'm going to search for my image. There is my connectivity image, and there's my connectivity image. I got 2 of them. I'm not exactly sure which one I use, so I'm going to click on this one and place that one, and let's see what we get. Yeah, and that's not the right one, so let me delete it. Let me try the other one. File, Place, and let me get the bigger. I think that's the bigger one. Place, and then click. Yeah, and even that's not the, I don't even think that's the right one. Let me see if it stretches. What do I get? Let's see if it does. Oops. Yeah, I think it's okay. It'll be all right for our purposes. Yeah, and I'm going to stretch it, and I'm stretching it just so that you know. I'm stretching it out to the guides. I mean to the bleed. Okay, do you see how I've stretched it to the bleed? Now watch. I'm going to go View. Zoom out. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to position my graphic. So my graphic has to go up. So I'm going to Shift, and I'm going to up arrow it until I get this up about where I want it. And again, I don't exactly know whether I got it in the right place or not. Yeah, and that's a slightly different one. It doesn't really matter. Again, I used a slightly different one for this, but it's okay. For this one, I'm just trying to give you an idea, and it probably should go a little bit higher. I'd say probably just like that. Okay, now don't worry too much about what's happening along the bottom here, because as you recall, one thing I did do down there was I put in a black area. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to drag me an area like this, and it's going to come out with that blue there because that's the color that is showing in the fill. I'm going to remove the stroke first of all, okay, and then I'm going to go to my swatches panel, and I'm going to apply the black to it. Whoop. It might be a good idea to move the fill forward first. and then I'm going to apply black to it. There we go. Okay, so now I have my background. I have my background created. Now, as far as the picture is concerned, just try to keep in mind that what I did was I gave you guys a link. I gave you 2 links. One of the links that I gave you was to take you in to find you these pictures, these nice pictures. You have to use these pictures? No, you really don't have to use these pictures at all. If you want to use these pictures, you can feel free to use one of these pictures and create a nice background like this. But you can do something entirely different. I just thought that, you know, I'd try to give you some elements. And the other thing that I did was I showed a series of globes. If I could get over here, which I'm having trouble doing, let me see if I can maybe stretch this just a little bit further, and then I can maybe reach it. Yeah, I can barely see. I'm going to end up shutting it. All right. Okay, so I'm going to. All right, that's what I wanted to do. Actually, I am where I wanted to be now. Okay, here we go. All right, and there. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, so I can do it this way. Here we go. Internet usage. So there you go. You can see I got my background and I got my black down at the bottom here. Okay. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to point out to you is that you can see that my artwork goes all the way out to my bleed lines. Both of my elements go all the way out to the bleed lines. This goes far beyond the bleed lines, but that's perfectly okay because none of it's going to print. Only what's going to print is on the black lines, okay? And this going to the bleed line is correct. So when you do this, it's perfectly fine to go to the bleed lines, all right? All right, so again, you know, picture or not, that's totally up to you. If you want to just use color, that's totally up to you as well. So what I did is I have my data here. Here's my data. This is the data that I used for this. And if you take a look at my, let's go back to Internet Usage AI. Okay, so I have Internet Usage Statistics, the Internet's big picture, world Internet users and population stats. Okay, so the first thing that I did was I set those lines together. Let me drag this guy. Let me see if I can do this. Let's see if I can get, I can't do it. I got so many things open. All right, so anyway, Internet usage statistics. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get my type and make sure that I'm on my type layer. Let me go to my type layer. All right, now one of the things that I wanted to point out to you also was that once you have your background, here's my background, it's on the background layer, okay? What I want to do is I want to lock that layer. Now the reason I lock that layer because now you can see I can't do anything. I can't edit that layer. I can't touch it. I can't mess with it. So now that layer is basically done. Later on, if I want, I could come in here and I could unlock the layer and I could Control-Z. I could get my selection tool and I could select this and, you know, I could do things like maybe scale this bottom if this bottom is too fat. See what I mean? I could do whatever I want. But in the meantime, I'm going to lock it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and give me a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set my type for my headline. So let me get my type tool. Where are you at here? Where are my type tool? Oh, I know why, because I can't see it. That's what it is. Type tool. Make sure I'm on my text layer, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to place this text. Now the problem right away is the text is black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to the Pantone process cyan. And I'm going to type in, cannot remember, it says Internet Usage Statistics. All right, so I'm going to type in Internet, I have to select it again. There we go. INTERNET USAGE STATISTICS. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to center align it, okay? I'm going to center align it. And I'm going to change the font size. Let's start off by making it 24, not big enough. Let's go to 72. 72 looks like it's probably pretty good. And then with this thing selected, all right, let me minimize my layers for a second here because I'm not going to be using them this second. Let me make the size of this a little bit smaller overall. There we go. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to find my align panel. And what I'm going to do is I'm aligning it to the artboard, center align. So I've center aligned this thing to the artboard. Let's go view, fit artboard and window. There we go. And what happened to my, where did my type go? Where's my type? Oh, it's way high. That's what the problem is. Let me bring it into the frame. There we go. Bring it down. And there you go. Now, here's a little something. Here's a little something for you. If this is confusing you, and it did me just now, what you can do here is you can create a clipping mask, okay? And basically what you can do is you can hide that top area. I'm not going to bother doing it because I think I'll be all right. I'm not going to be doing that much work in here. So the other thing that I want to do here is let me go back to my internet usage. The internet big picture, world internet users and population stats. I'm going to actually copy and paste this because it's just I don't have the copy written. So let me just copy and paste it. Let me just come in here and get the text. It's on the image layer. It looks like, yeah, it's on the image layer. Object. Release. There we go. Okay. So let me get that. Edit, copy. And let's come over to here. And let's go back to there. And let's, first of all, make sure I'm on my text. I am. Okay. And edit, paste in place. Boom. And there it is. It actually falls in pretty well. All right. So what do I have at this point? I've basically created my page 1117. I've produced it with a bleed. I've imported a picture for the background. I've created an area at the bottom which is going to house some of my graphics, and I've produced a headline here which I believe actually is too big. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to adjust the size down a little bit. Yeah, that's probably pretty good right there. 65 I think is about the size I used. Boom, that's about right. There you go. So there's the beginning of my poster. All right. From this point forward, all right, and we're going to go back to the original. Let's go back to the internet usage. So this part, the background's done, the headline and the subheadline is done. The rest of it is the incorporation of my visual elements here. And what these visual elements are doing there is they're illustrating the areas of inquiry. In other words, if you take a look at your, let's go and find our preview. Here is the world regions that we're discussing. So we're discussing Asia, Europe. Here's Africa. So Africa is the first one I have here. North America, right there. There's North America. Asia's there. Okay. Latin America's there. It's actually Latin America and Caribbean. I just simplified it to Latin America. Europe is there. And Australia, it's Oceania and Australia, but I just simplified it to Australia. And then, of course, the Middle East. So I just utilized these graphics. The only reason that they're there, those graphics are just there to help me establish the regions, okay? And then what happens down here are a series of pie charts which talks about the population, and there's the listing of all the different countries. And if I can zoom in on this thing, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, there is my pie chart, which shows the population from 2012 for Asia, Europe, Middle East, North America, Latin America, and Caribbean. So that's how I did it on this one. Let's go view, fit artboard and window. I did it slightly different on my other one, which is this guy right here. And let's go to my layers panel. And let me open up my graphics. Let me bring the globes in. Let's open up the type for a second and the guides. All right, because I want you to take a look at all of this real quickly. This is the one that I'm actually going to be working on tonight. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these layers one at a time. So as you can see, from a background standpoint, I got a background layer. My background layer is basically the same background layer as the one that I just did a minute ago, although I think in this case I used the correct photo. That photo was an incorrect photo. It was a backup photo. Doesn't really matter because this is the one that I'm actually going to work on. Okay? So I put my background photo in, and I got my color area down at the bottom. And again, this is what I determined to look. I wanted a very dramatic kind of poster, and I happen to know that black's very dramatic. I like the blues. And I also noticed that there are some greens that are peeking through here. So that's why when I decided to create my color scheme came off as a cyan color because I need a color that was hot enough to pop off of this blue. I couldn't just go with a plain ordinary blue because the ordinary blue wouldn't be powerful enough to pop against the blues and the darks of this background. So I went with cyan, which I thought worked beautifully. And the other green that I used I didn't like very much, so I modified that green color and made that green color slightly different to a color I thought looked a little bit better. So I'm just giving you my rationale for what I did so far. All right, so that's my background. The background is locked, as I explained to you before. The reason it's locked is so I can now work on top of it without it interfering with anything. So the other thing that I would do is as I build this and as I work on these different layers that I've created, I would lock the layer if I'm done putting elements on the layer. And if I have to go back in and modify something on that layer, I go back later and I unlock the layer and move the element. So that's just a good way to work. Let's go to the graphics layer real quick. Okay, so what I've done so far in the graphics layer is I've placed one of my pictures and I've placed one of my charts. So now you can kind of get a sense. Now, this is the color that that globe came as. And so I didn't really want to redo it because it would be a tremendous amount of work. And I'm not concerned about this being 100% authentic. What I'm mostly concerned about is showing you things that can be done in Adobe Illustrator. That's my real goal here. My goal is to work in Illustrator and show you some things that will help you when you work on it. All right? So just to get us started, what I did was on the graphics layer, I placed one of my graphs and I placed one of my globes. All right, now I got this circle here. The reason I got this circle is if you take a look at my globe, this particular globe has these corners on it, okay? And that doesn't look very good. So what I want to do is I want the globe to come off looking like a globe, just like a globe. I don't want it looking like a picture of a globe floating in the sky. I want it to look like a globe, okay? So the way that I would fix this in this particular case, if this happened, is I would create a circle the same size as the globe, which is what I did. And of course, you know, I shouldn't have to tell you how to make a circle. You know, you basically come in here, hold the shift key down, and you draw out a circle the size that you need, okay? So that's really all that I did to make that circle that I already have, all right? So I'm going to delete that. Now remember, my background layer is locked, so the only thing that is available to me is what's on that graphic layer. And right now, that's my circle, which you can see is pretty much centered well in front of that globe. Can everybody see that? All right, so I'm going to select both of those objects. So I got the picture and that circular shape both selected. I'm going to do what's known as a clipping mask. Now, what a clipping mask does is it takes an object. In the case of my clipping mask, it's that circular shape. And what it's going to do is it's going to take the object which is behind it, which is that squared off picture of that globe, and it's going to trim away everything that's outside that circle, clipping it essentially, and making it so that the only thing that you're going to see is the globe in the center. It's called a clipping mask. So if I have both of them selected, I go to the Object menu, and I go down to where it says Clipping Mask, Make. You see what it did? It literally clipped away the outer edge of that picture, leaving the globe. Now, the other ones that I have that I'm going to bring in here don't have that problem because I actually did them correctly in Adobe Photoshop, and I saved them as PNG files, which is what I'm going to be using in my poster. But I just wanted to show you how to do that, because a lot of times what's going to happen is in Illustrator you're going to get a graphic which is a bitmap graphic, and you're going to want to clip that thing so that some of it doesn't show, and this is how you do it. So the other thing that I'm going to do is select this thing, go to the Effect menu, and I'm going to go down to Stylized, and I'm going to go to Drop Shadow, and I'm going to apply a drop shadow to this. And it's on there, but it's very, very tiny. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Let's make it 6. Yeah, there we go. 6, and let's make it 6 again. And let's try that. That's better. Hit OK. Now if I deselect that, there, can you see the little bit of a shadow that I've put on that, so it gives it a little bit more depth? Okay, so on the graphics layer, here's the thing. I've got my globes here. All right, now I just wanted to show you that I took the same globe and I replaced, or I actually placed all the globes in the position that I want. I used all the same globes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to replace these globes with the correct globes. Now, what I did, I'm going to go to the guides layer, and I'm going to bring the guides layer forward. As you can see, I actually created a whole series of guides. There's a bunch of guides, and they do different things. Most of these guides help me to place my circular images. See all these guides across here? And some of these guides, like that guide and that guide right there, help me to size and place my pictures. Okay? So the first one that I have is Africa. Let me go to my list and let's see. The first one I have here is population. Yeah, Africa. So Africa. Now let me go to my picture, my preview. So Asia is actually the first one. So I'm going to leave the first one Africa because I already got Africa there. I'm going to make my next one Asia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm in my assignment, and I have all of my maps in here because as I explained to you before, I've done all this in advance. And here's my Asia, so I'm going to click Asia, and I'm going to hit Place. And I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to drag out Asia. So there's Asia. Now, as you can see, Asia has the same issue. I have a rectangular shape around Asia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place Asia and scale Asia until it fits in between my guides. And it actually, no, it's actually got to be smaller. All right, this one, first of all, I can get rid of this guy now. Delete that. There we go. And now I can fit Asia. Let me get my scale tool, right? And I'm going to carefully come in here, and I'm going to bring this guy down slightly until it's about like that size right there. And now it's the same size as this. So here's the trick. Here's the trick. I got my second one in place, my Asia here, and I think it might be a little smaller than the other, but I'll find out in a second. I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to select my clipping mask. And I'm going to go Object, Clipping Mask, Release, okay? And then I'm going to select this guy and go Edit, Copy. And then I'm going to come back in and I'll select them both again, and I'll go Object, Clipping Mask, Make again. Oh, come on. Oh, you know, I wonder if it's the guides. Let me see. There you go. Object, Clipping Mask, Make. There. Okay. Now, oh, you know what it is? I got to lock the guides. There you go. Okay. I forgot to lock the guides. Now I'm going to go Edit, Paste. And there is my second little shape for my clipping mask. So I'm going to move this thing up here onto Asia. And I'm going to place it on Asia. And it looks like Asia is a little bit smaller than the other one. So once again, I'm going to make it just a tiny bit bigger. Little tiny bit bigger. That's too much. Let me come in and get it just a tiny bit bigger. Oh boy, it's hard. Yeah, that'll probably do it. There we go. I think, well, actually, it doesn't look like I did it at all. Let me zoom in. I'm having a little trouble getting this thing. Yeah, see, it's a little bit smaller. So I'm going to select the thing. We select this. All right, and let me see if I can make it just a little bit bigger. You know what would be smart? Let me do this. What would be smart is if I took the clipping mask and if I put a color on the clipping mask, like black. There we go. Now I can at least see it. Okay, so that looks like the clipping mask is bigger. And I think if I move this thing over slightly and up, yeah, I now got that globe. There we go. Okay, so now the globe is fitting within the clipping mask. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, let me just click this and go edit copy again. All right, and now what I'm going to do is select both of these guys and go object, clipping mask, make. And now I've made a clipping mask of Asia. Okay, so the next one, let me go view, fit artboard and window. Now the next one is, so we got Asia, and the next one is Europe. So I'm going to click on this guy here, and I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to go and find Europe. There's Europe, and I'll hit Place, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to carefully drag this thing, holding the Shift key down, and I'm going to drag it to about there. There we go. And let's go Edit, Paste in Place. There we go. And now I'm just going to walk that over. Again, what I did was I pasted in place the clipping mask shape that I'm going to use to clip this guy. There we go. And now I'm going to select both of these, the actual, well, actually, I don't even have to do that because it looks like this one doesn't have the issue the other one has. So actually, I don't even have to do that one on this. This one is fine. Okay, so the next one is, let's see, so I got Asia here, I got Africa, Asia, and I got Europe. So this one will be Latin America. File, Place, and let's go Latin America, and Place, and let's see if I can kind of make this thing the right size. Hold down the Shift key. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then this one here. Where are you? So this one here, Latin America, Africa, North America. Hold on. North America. I'm just making notes so I don't have to keep going back to this. Middle East. Okay, and Oceania or Australia. Okay, got it. All right, so now I can just do these a little quicker. File, Place again. And then the next one is North America. Right there, Place. And again, the guides help me quite a bit because the guides give me an idea of where I want these things to fit. So there's that, okay? And then this one here, and actually I didn't lay these things out quite right, so I'm going to have to make an adjustment. File, Place, that was North America. This is going to be the Middle East. There's the Middle East, hit Place. And I'm going to once again go to my guides, click Shift, and I'm going to make that the Middle East. And then finally, the last one, File, Place, the last one is going to be Australia. Where is Australia? Oceania, I called it. Okay, Place. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just place this one right on top of that one right there. Boom. Okay, and then I'm going to do this. I'm going to move this over here. Let me do it quickly. Bring this over here. Okay, and I'm going to take this guy here, move it over. I'm going to move this over until it is right there. That's good. And then I'm going to select all of these guys. So I got my guide layer and I got my background layer. I'm going to select all these guys, and I'm going to go to my distribute panel. Let's see if I can get this to work with my distribute panel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute these things horizontally center, but not to the page, because I don't want them to, or not to the artboard. I want them to do it to selections. The reason, if I did this to the artboard, what would happen is it would go all the way to the edge and all the way to the other edge, and that's not what I want. I want them to be to the art pieces themselves. So I'm changing it from artboard to selection, okay? And I'm going to distribute them there. And now if I come in here and deselect everything, let me bring this thing down for a second so I can minimize it, and we can take a look. Go to the view menu, and let's go to guides, hide guides. Oh, yeah, no, I don't even want to do that. Just go to my layers panel. Bring my layers panel, put it back in here. Let me go to my layers panel and just hide it. There we go. Okay, so there you have all of your, and let me go in and show you my title. Let's go to my type. Okay, so there is my type. Now, the other thing that happened here is I have these names here. This is Africa. This one is going to be Asia. This one is going to be Europe. This one is going to be South America. This is going to be Middle East. This is going to be America, United States, or North America. And then this one here is going to be Australia. Okay, but the problem is they're out of place now. So here's the deal. Look, I have a type on a path. That's what I did. I put type on a path. Now mine originally were smaller, but I left these bigger so that you could see what I did. I'm going to position this thing over top of this circle in the proper position. All right, and I'm going to show you how I did it. All right, so I got this guy here, and I'm going to go to my guides. Let me bring my guides forward. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that center guide right there. Let's go to the view menu, and let's go to guides, and let's unlock the guides. Oh, they're not locked. They're locked here. All right, so I'm going to select that center guide. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that center guide down ever so slightly. Just bring that center down to about, Control Z. Hold on, I got to drag it this way. Let me just drag it down a tiny bit. I think it goes to about there. And that should do it. Nope, it's still got to go a little bit further down. Hold on, let me get this thing down a little bit further. I think I went too far. I think it's about there. I went too far. All right, so let me fix it, bring it up a bit, bring it up to about there. There we go. And now if I select this thing, I can come over here and drag a guide out, and I can place that guide right on the center. Okay, so now I have a guide right on the center. I'm going to get rid of Africa. Let me delete Africa. And I'm going to show you how I put this type on a path. Okay, so I believe this is the second one was Asia. All right, so I'm going to start off by coming in here, and I'm going to get my ellipse tool. I'm going to sit right in the center of this, right at the intersection in the center, carefully. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and the Alter the Option key. I say the Alter the Option key because if you're on a Mac, I think it's the Option. If you're on a PC, it's Alt. And I'm just going to carefully drag a circle out until I reach about the same point as the others are at, which I think is probably pretty close to being right there. And then I'm just going to make that there. So now watch, look what happens. You see how I got a circle sitting there and it's about the same position as that? All right, so now what I want to do is I want to type Asia on this, all right? So I'm going to first of all click on that, and what that'll do is that'll set my type to be Myriad Pro Bold 25 or 22 points. So it's Myriad Pro, and it's bold and 22 point. Okay, 22 point. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my type tool on a path, type on a path tool. Carefully come in here, and I'm going to click, and I get that. And I'm going to change it to read ASIA. I'm going to go to my paragraph, and I'm making sure it's center aligned, and it is center aligned. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to bring that type inside. So I'm just going to click and I'm going to bring it up, straight up, and now it's on the inside. Now the size isn't right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it. All right. And I'm going to come in here, and I said the size was 22 in bold. I'm going to go 22, 19, 20, 21, 22. And now I have my type set. And if I'm very careful, I can come in here now, and I can take a look at this, and I can see that the size is a little bit off. So I'm going to come in here, hold the Shift key and the Alt key, and I'm going to drag it just a touch. And now that's closer to it. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to make sure I got it centered. And it looks like I'm basically centered, but it looks like I may need to adjust this thing ever so slightly. Let's see where that adjustment is. Boy, it's so hard to see it. Yeah, there we go. I got it, I think. Oh, no, Control Z. I didn't get it. Hold on. It's so hard to do. There we go. I got it. Okay, so now I have Africa and I have Asia. All right, that's basically how I did this. All right, and I only did it because I wanted visually to be something that suggested each of the different continents. Now I did this, and I already have this set. All I got to do is bring it in place here. Okay, and the reason they're not in place is because I made the mistake of doing them. I did them. I missed one. There's actually 6 of them. View, fit artboard and window. Okay, and now this one here. Let's see, this one here, once again, let's go to preview. This one here was Europe, I believe. So come in here and double click on it. And let's change that to read. I'm going to put the cap locks down so it's easier. E-U-R-O-P-E, Europe. And now I'm going to move this one into position. All right, I'm just going to move it into proper position here. Right there. I think it's got to go over a little bit and down. There we go. And that one was South America, right? Where are we at here? Latin America, I guess it is. Is that right? Yeah, Latin America. So I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to select the whole thing, and I'm going to call it Latin America. Oops. Latin America. And then this one going to be Africa. Let's bring this over here. It's not Africa. It's Middle East. That one is going to be the Middle East in a minute. All right. Oh, I actually messed this up. Let me fix it. It's actually capital. Okay. There we go. And this is going to be the Middle East. M-I-D-D-L-E-E-A-S-T. And I got 2 more to go, which is this guy here. I'm going to go edit copy, edit paste in place, and then I'm just going to wing it over onto the other. And that's going to be North America in a second. Whoop. North America. All right. Oh, I did it again. North America. There we go. North America. Did it again. America. There we go. North America. And then the final one here is going to be A-U-S-T-R-A-L-I-A, Australia. There. All right. So let's go to my layers panel. Let's hide my guides real quick. So what do we have here? I gave you an idea. If you take a look at my internet usage, it's basically the same thing. I spent a little more time and a little bit more effort, and I organized them a little bit better, and I sized them a little bit better. The reason I didn't go to such trouble is because I have less time to do this tonight, and I wanted to get more than this done, and I wanted to give you a general idea as to how to get this thing going. So that's more or less how I accomplished this, more or less how I accomplished that, more or less how I accomplished the background. So what does that leave me with? That leaves me with the information down at the bottom here. So let's do this. Let's go in and let's take a look at what's going on here. All right, so I have my population 2018 piece of art here. Now let's go to my chart sample. So here's one of my chart samples. Now if you take a look at my chart sample, this chart sample is still an active chart. What that means essentially is I can select this chart and I can come in here and I can change the type, and we talked about this last week. I can change the data, and here's the data, okay? Here's the data. The data is that this is Africa. So the population of Africa, the penetration of Africa, and the internet percentage in Africa. That's what makes this chart up. And if you take a look at my information here, you'll see what I'm talking about. The population of the world, let me see, Africa, here we go. Population percent of the world is 62.2%. The penetration rate is 28. Let me see here, I'm on the right one. Africa, what did I do? Let's see, I think I might have made a mistake on this one. This is Africa. So it's 10, let's see, 10, Africa, 28, and 9. So maybe, all right, let me fix this then. Let me see if that's not right. So this is going to be, all right, so let's see here. This is going to be the population of the world for Africa is 16.2. And then the penetration should be for Africa 28.7, 28.7. And then the internet, where? I guess it's table of users. That's not right either. It's table of users. Oh, I see. It's internet users. Is that right? Let's see. Table percent users. That's what it is. Table percent users. Table percent users. There we go. Okay. All right. And then the numbers would have to be for the population. The population would be 16.2. 16.9, 16.2. And then the 28.7, 28.7. And then finally, the table would be for Africa, 9.3. 9.3. So that would be 9.3. Okay, and then when I update this, see it updates. And then all I have to do is I have to modify these graphics again. And what I did with these graphics is this. I just basically come in here and I selected them with the direct selection tool, and I made them smaller by clicking just in. Remember what I told you last night, last week, the direct selection tool enables me to select points. So what I'm doing is I'm selecting the points, the specific points on the one side, and now I'm going to use the left arrow key to make those shapes smaller. All right. Oh, I got something going on here that I don't like. How's that happening? What's going on? That's not selected. Why is it doing that? That's bizarre. Okay, let's try it again. This one here has to come over. Okay, so that's probably close. I don't know what happened with that, but let's see if I can fix it. Click that, click that, click that, that. Okay, and now let's, yep, there we go. Now it's working, okay. Bring it over until it clears, because I don't need those big rectangular shapes. Little squares like that will do just fine, okay? So there you have it. There I have my Africa, and I've actually made a correction to it. And I think what I did also, here's a chart sample Latin America. Yeah, I actually put the numbers on it too. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in the number. So that's going to be 16.2% of users. Penetration rate would be 28.7. And then the population, which I forget what it was. Let's see. Population for Africa would be 9.3. Okay, so that would be 9.3. Okay, so now I have my Africa done. all right? But actually, I want this to be Asia, all right? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making changes to this thing, all right? So basically what I want to do with this is I want to convert this from Africa to Asia. So how do I do that? Basically, I come in here, and I'm going to bring my chart up again. Or actually, let me see. Asia. Yeah, this is the one that I didn't do. All right, so I'm going to come in here. I'm going to select it and go into Data. And then I'm going to change this to Asia. All right, it's Asia, A-S-I-A, Asia. And then what I want to do, let me actually do this. This is probably a lot easier if I did it this way. I'm going to move this over somewhat and move this over somewhat. Whoops, the wrong way. There we go. And move it over further and move this over here. And now I can bring this up and I can put this over here and I can take a look at Asia. I get a sense of what Asia is going to be. Okay, so in my data, Asia is the first one. So I want the population of the percentage of the world. I want this to be 55.2. So I'm going to type in 55.2. And then the penetration is 45.6. 45.6. And then the table percentage, I guess that would be the growth. No, that's here. The table of users, 50.2. So that would be 50.2. And then update it and then hit OK. And then what I would do again is the same thing. I'd come over here and I can bring this back now. Actually, let me do it while I'm here and I'm thinking about it. Come in here and I'm going to set this, the table of users. Let's see here. Asia, table of users, the population. That's it, population. So the population, table of users will be over here. There we go, 50.2. 50, come on. 50.2. Penetration rate right there for Asia. Is Asia the first one again? Yeah. Penetration rate for Asia is going to be 45.6, and then population 55.2. Okay, so now I have my data correct, and what I want to do is I want to change this to read Asia, A-S-I-A. All right. This number has to change as when the internet users December. No, that doesn't have to change. That can stay put pretty much. Do I have information here? No, I don't. Control Z. I think that's it. I think we're good. All right. Now the only thing that's left for me to do here is make a couple of little minor adjustments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. Let me bring these out so I do this a lot easier. I'm going to get my direct selection tool. And once again, I'm going to come over here carefully. Actually, I'll come over this side, hold down the shift key, and let me adjust these things. Adjust all of them. I didn't get that one. And let me make these things square, more like a square, which would be about like that. That's probably pretty good. And then maybe what I'll do is I'll just move these over a hair. Oops, didn't get it. Direct selection tool, move it over a hair. There, okay. So now I have my Asia ready to go. Now, the only thing that you need to understand about this is, let me just see something here. There's nothing else but, okay, so we're good. All right, let me take a look at my, there it is, a population. Okay, so population, I think, let's see. So Asia population and internet users. All right, so I have to change them. So I'll come back in here. Internet users, December 20. Okay, so this one is going to be the population. Let me drag this over. So here's the deal. Internet users, 31st of December 2017. All right, this is the old one. I have a newer one. Let me see if I can locate it. I got a newer one. Week 2. Where's my data? Statistics on. You know what? I'm just gonna go with this. I had a newer one. Doesn't matter. The data is what it is. It's not a problem. I'm just going to use this. So what it's going to say here is it's going to say it's going to say internet users right here. So Asia will be 1, comma, 864, comma, 212, comma, 654. Okay. And then the other thing is population up here. Let's go population, P-O-P-U-L-A-T-I-O-N. And let me just see what it says. Let me see what, hold on for 1 second. Let me go here. It's population 2018 EST. Okay, so I'm going to actually put that. Population, come on. EST 2018. Is that right? EST period. I think that's what it is. Boy, I tell you, I'm having more trouble. 2018 EST. Oh, so I have it backwards. Okay. Population 2018 EST. Let's. Oh God. There we go. And oh, jeez. Okay. EST. Period. Right. And it's probably lowercase. Nope, it's fine. All right. So now, here's the deal. The next thing what I'm going to do here is I'm going to delete, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that out of here. Select this and hit Enter. And then I have a size here. I'm using the same basic size. So if I come over to my character, okay, the character says that it's Myriad Pro, bold, italic, and it is 60 point. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. And I'm going to type in for Asia, I'm going to type in 4, comma, 052, comma, 652, comma, 889. And, oh, come on. Are you kidding me? Jeez. Let's try it again. 4 point, comma, 4.052, comma, 652, comma, 889. Okay, and then I'm going to select this, and I'm going to change it to 60. I believe it was 60. Yep, and italic, bold, Myriad Pro, and character. Come on. And I think it was italic. Bold, italic. There we go. And it was also black. Actually, you know what? Here's the thing. Let me just explain this. So if you take a look back here, take a look at the coloration. My Africa is in black. My chart, or my pie chart, is in its colors. My heading is in that blue, and these are in the colors. This is in white, that's in white, that's in blue, and that's white. So let's look at my chart. This here is in that blue. I don't want that to be in that blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it. I'm going to change that to be in white. Then I'm going to select this, and I'm going to change that into white. Then I'm going to select this, and I'm going to change that into white. Then I'm going to change that to be white, and I'm going to change that to be white. Now, I know that this looks absolutely ridiculous this way, but you got to keep in mind that I'm going to export this thing as a PDF, and when I export it as a PDF, I'm going to bring it into my layout as a PDF, and it's going to look great because the PDF is going to have a transparent background. So before we go nuts on this, just let me show you what I'm going to do, what I'm talking about, and you'll see. So File, Save As, and I'm going to save this as a PDF. You'll notice that I have all of these in here, okay, as PDFs. So this is going to be my chart sample. I'm going to get rid of one, get rid of this, get rid of that one because I don't need it anymore. And it's going to be chart sample Asia, and I'm going to hit save. Okay, and hit save PDF. Now I got one more to do here, Latin America. We'll do that in a moment, all right? But I just want to show you, let's go back in here and let's place this thing. So let's go File, Place. So the next one is going to be Asia, save, right? And I'm going to go File, Place, and bring my guides back. Let me go Asia, where are you at? Chart sample Asia, place, and I'm going to click, and it comes up huge. But if I come in here, I got guides, remember. So I'll come in here, and I'll show my guides. There's my guides. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I'm going to set the corner right here, and I'm going to begin to scale this thing down. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to start scaling this thing. Actually, to get this thing up to where I can manage it, I'm going to bring it way up. Hold the Shift key down. I'm going to bring this down real small. And now I'm getting close to the size that I need for this. See? And I'm just going to scale this thing, holding the Shift key down until I get it sized the way I want, which is about like that. Now, again, in the end, I might have to adjust the size of this. But what I'm trying to do, let's go and hide my guides, and you can see what I'm doing is this guide here is a random guide, which I don't think I need. There. You can see what I'm doing is I'm actually populating the bottom with my little pie charts. All right. So now I have one more over here. This is my Latin America. Okay. I'm just going to show you we're going to do the same thing with this. Now remember, this is still active. I can go in and I can change the data on this if I want. So I'm going to do that a little bit. I'm not going to bother changing all these numbers around because I think you saw how I did this. All I'm going to do to make this work is this is, I believe, Latin America. Before I do this, though, let me just make sure I'm doing that right. So it's Africa, Asia, it's actually Europe. Latin America is right here. So let me do this. Let me go to put my guides in first of all and bring guides back out. And let's go File, Place. And I'm going to lock the guides. All right. I need cancel. Let me lock the guides first. And I'm putting it on the graphics layer. Yeah, there we go. So let's go File, Place. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to find let me see. So I have Asian, Africa, Europe. I want Europe. Okay. So let's go File, Place, and let's find Europe. Let's see if we can find Europe. Europe right there. Click on it. Place. There. And I'm going to actually, you know what? I'm going to try to do it this way. Click, hold, and drag just like that. Boom. What happened now? Okay. Whoa, what happened? Hold on. Must be more than one thing on there. Let's see. Let's see if I'm good now. Oh, come on. Oh, great. Now what's the problem? File, Place. Let's try it again. File, Place. Let's see. What's going on with this thing? Let's see. Europe. Place. Okay. Okay. I don't know why it was doing that. Anyway, what I did was I just placed it big time, and now it's in there, so I have to size it. It's a pain in the neck, but it's coming in. That's the important thing. Just going to bring this into position here, get it the size that I need, and let's bring it up like that until it's on the base. There we go. And now I can size it approximately like that. There we go. Okay, so there's now Europe. Move that into position like that. So I'm just going to keep building these things, all right? I'll worry about placing them finally in the end. That's basically it. I'm going to come in here. Here's my chart of Latin America. This is going to say Latin America, so what I got to do is I got to change that to Latin America. So let me select it. Let me change it to Latin America. Latin America, okay. All right, and I don't think I'm going to change these numbers at all because they're really the numbers for Africa. But again, I'm just trying to save a little bit of time here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this thing with the group selection tool. I'm going to select this line, change it to white. I'm going to select this line, change it to white. And as you can see, by changing it to white, because the background is transparent, it looks really nice against that dark background. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go File, Save As, and this is going to be Latin America, not AI, PDF. PDF is what I'm saving it as. It's important that you understand that. Now, the PDF does have the ability to give me a transparent background, and the PDF is also appropriate if you're going to use this for print, which is what we're going to do. So I'm going to hit Save, and now hit Save PDF. And now let's go to our assignment week 2. This is my layout. This is where we are with this so far. I'm on the graphics layer. I got the other layers locked. And so I got Africa, Asia, Europe. The next one I'm going to put in is Latin America. So let's go File, Place, and let's go down and let's find Latin America. I don't know what happened to this panel, but let's go to Latin America. Where are you at? Latin America, chart 2. Is that it? I guess it is. Yeah, let's go. Place. All right, click. There we go. That's it. And now I'm going to scale the thing down using the pre-transform tool right there. I'm going to hold the Shift key down, right? Hold the Shift key down, and I'm going to bring this down small. And let's move it up. Place it on the base right there. All right. And I'm going to continue sizing it until it fits within my guides. It's very important when you're working on this. It's always a great idea to create grids. So what I did here was I kind of created this grid. And the grid's pretty loose, but it gives me some ideas as to where I want to go with this. So I got 4, and I got 2 more to go. And I know already that it's not going to fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring all 6 of these things in. After I get all 6 of them in, I'm going to adjust the size of them slightly, and I'm going to modify them so that they will fit across the bottom, and then I'll continue from there. Okay, so let me just go. The next one is, so we got Latin America, Middle East, North America, and Australia. That's what's left. So we got, actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've actually got 3 more to go. So let's go File, Place. And the next one that we're looking for, Latin America, Middle East. So Middle East is right there, and hit Place. And I'm going to click here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click, and I'm going to drag that thing to about like that. Oh, see, cancel. All right. This is it. I'm just going to place it. It doesn't like it when I do that. So I learned when it doesn't like something, I don't do it. So when I tried to scale that thing like that, it didn't like it. So I'm just going to put it in, and I'm going to scale it like I've been doing, like this. You know, the old saying is, doesn't pay to fight City Hall. In this particular case, that's what I was doing. I was essentially fighting City Hall, and it didn't want to work. All right, so now I'm going to scale this thing until, come on, you. Right, I'll try to finish scaling this thing. All right, there's that one. All right, and I'm running out of space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to move it up over here. And I'm going to go File, Place. And that was the Middle East. Now it's North America right there. Hit Place and click. And there's North America. And I'm going to scale North America. Notice how nice and transparent these guys are. It's beautiful, really. They're nice graphics. They're all transparent. I don't have any problems with them. All I have to do is get them in, and then I can scale them. And because they're all vector art, they are resolution independent, meaning I can make them bigger or smaller as much as I need to. So there's that. I got 1 more left, and that is Australia. File, Place, and let's go to Oceania, Australia, Place, and let's click on that. Actually, that one worked. How about that? So now I can drag this guy over to here, and let's see if I can get him scaled quickly. There we go. And now let's see if I can scale him. And we're basically done. So scale that guy down to there. There we go. All right, now I can't fit these guys across in one line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of them by holding the Shift key down. Now this one seems to be on the wrong layer. So let me see if I can get that off of that layer onto that layer. Boom, there. I want to try to keep everything on the proper layer. All right, so now all these things are going to probably end up being on the right layer. Yeah, and they are. They're all working out good. Okay, so I have all of these things selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to scale them. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try scaling them down to like, I think that's too small. I'm going to go 75. Let's make 80. And let's hit OK. And let's see whether they'll fit at 80. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these guys and I'm going to move them over to here. All right, move it over to about, actually, let's move it over to here. I got a little extra space there. Yeah, so now let's see if I come over here with this. If I move that all the way over to here, I don't think I'm going to have enough space yet. I think they're going to have to be smaller. So let's see. Let's get that over there. I actually have the ability to get one more in there, it looks like. So North America can be brought in, and that'll fit. So we're actually still a little bit too big, which is okay because I can make them a little smaller. Let me select that, and let me select all of them. And let's go in and let's make them, oh, I don't know, let's make them like maybe 90%. Hit OK. There we go. This might do it. And if it is a little too small, I'll go back and adjust it again. Let's bring this over to here. All right, let me bring this over to here. Let me bring this over to here. Let's see if I can get that last one in there. Come on. Oh, this thing is so jumpy. Oh, all right. This one here, move over to there. Yeah, I actually, let's see, maybe. Hold on. Let's do that. Let's do that. Yep, I get that in there. Look at that. Okay, now I'm going to select all these things, all of them at the bottom. And once again, I'm going to come into my Align panel. Which is this one. Nope. Oh, where's my Align panel? Here. And I'm going to distribute them. Now they're all distributed equally, and let's align them along the vertical center axis. So now they are all aligned and they're all distributed properly. All right, so now let me go in and let's go to the View menu, and let's go to Guides, and let's hide the guides, and let's see what we got so far with my design. We have that, which actually doesn't look bad at all, okay? So now you can see where I'm heading with this. What I would have to do with this here now is I would have to take a look and see what I'm going for with growth from 2008 to 2018. Now this I run into a problem with because, oh, here it is. Growth from 20, okay, so look, here's the deal. I have these numbers right here. The problem that I'm having is I had an updated version of this. So my growth is saying 2000 to 216. This is saying 2000 to 218. So you know what? It's really not that big of a deal. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the growth from 20 to 2016. So in Africa, all right, I'm going to change the number. All right, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change the number on this. The number is going to read, if I can get this thing organized in such a way that I can do it. Here we go, growth. Okay, so it's actually going to be, growth is going to be 1,515.2. 1,515.2. Okay, so there's that one. Now this one is going to be Asia. So I'm going to select this, type ASIA and then colon. And then it's going to be, Asia is going to be what? Let me see here. Asia is going to be, actually I put the wrong number in for Africa, but that doesn't matter. So I'm going to put in 1.152, but make sure you put the right numbers in. I'll maybe go back and fix it later. At any rate, I put the wrong number in because, see, the problem I'm having is I can't see everything. It's hard when you don't have everything showing here. I'm going to try to move this over in such a way that I can see it. It's very hard to do this when you don't have everything showing. Okay, so Asia, let me get this out of the way. All right, here we go. Asia, and it's going to be, so Asia is, which is it, growth, 1.515.2%. Okay, now the next one is going to be Europe. So let's double click on that and let's go EUROPE, and then colon, Europe, and that is 485.2. 485.2, and then percent. Okay, so that's Europe. Now, one of the things that I should do is I should explain to you, because you've seen me do 2 or 3 of these now, but there's one thing that you should probably understand here. Can you see how I've done this? If you take a look at my charting here, take a look at the Africa, Asia, and Europe. Notice that I have white type and I have black around the outside of my type. Now I want to show you how I did that. I'm going to type a word. I'm just going to type a random word. So I'm going to type in my name right here. Okay, Billsweeney, Bill Sweeney. Okay, I'm going to select this and I'm going to make it white. There it is, it's white. Okay, now if you take a look, it doesn't look nearly, Bill Sweeney doesn't look as nearly as good as Asia 1.15.2, or one, actually it's actually 1 comma is what it is. Yeah, so Bill Sweeney doesn't look anywhere near as good. So how do I make Bill Sweeney look as good as the Asia 1 comma 1 or 5.2? What I do basically is I come in here to my appearance panel, and I'm going to bring the appearance panel over here so I can show you this. What I have the ability to do, if you take a look over here, is I have the ability to put a fill and put a stroke on this. The problem is when I put a stroke on this thing, the stroke goes in front of the fill. Now let me show you in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my appearance panel. The appearance panel, I don't know whether anyone explained the appearance panel to you before. You find it in the window menu under appearance. Window appearance. Where is it? Appearance. Hello. Right there. So anyway, window appearance, and what you do with this is you select this thing and you come up here and you can add a new stroke. Now notice that when I add a new stroke, the stroke is higher than the fill. You see the fill down here? The stroke is above the fill. And I currently have a black stroke on this, so let me make sure it's black. I got a black stroke on this, and I have a 1-point stroke. And see what it does to my Bill Sweeney. I'm going to zoom in on this so that you can see this a little bit better. I want you to see this a little bit better. There we go. Take a look. Okay, so here's my appearance panel. Look what's happening. Now I'm going to put a 2-stroke on it. Okay, you see what's happening? The fill is being completely strangled by that stroke. Why? Because the stroke is getting bigger, and the stroke situates itself on the center of the shape of the letter. So half of the weight of the stroke is on the inside surface of the line, and half of it's on the outside. And what that does essentially is it begins to block the fill. Now I'm going to place a fill of white on this. So now I have a fill of white and a stroke of black, which is the 2 colors that I want for the Asia. But look at the difference between how Asia looks and how Bill Sweeney looks. So obviously there's some way that I can make my type look this way. instead of this. And how I do that basically is to come into my appearance panel, and that's why I brought the appearance panel out, so that you could understand this and you could use this when you create work in Adobe Illustrator. If you take your fill layer, these are on layers. If you take your fill layer, which is selected right now, the stroke layer is selected right now, I'm going to select the fill layer. If you click on it and if you drag it up until it is on a higher layer or a higher level than the stroke, I want you to watch carefully what happens to Bill Sweeney. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, I missed it. Let me go back again. 1, 2, 3. There. Okay. So you see what happens? The fill now is in front of the stroke. So now what I can do is I can go to my stroke layer and I can start increasing the weight of my stroke. Look, as I increase the weight of my stroke, I get something that looks like Asia with Bill Sweeney. So that's how I did that. It's very important because these are the things that I really want you to, and I also used it here, the growth. I used it there. Okay, so let's go to the view menu and let's fit artboard and window and let's see what we got so far. All right, so again, I'm going to get rid of this. Get rid of that, delete that. So now basically you can see that I more or less got this thing fleshed out. Let's go back to my internet uses and see what's missing. So I have June 30th, 2012, and then my world totals. I have some other copy that should go down the bottom there, although I think I actually dealt with that, so I don't know whether I really need that or not. Let's see here. Internet users. Yeah, I could actually put in world totals down there. And what was the other one? Growth 20. Yeah, actually, I think what I would want to do with this is, I think I would want this to go down lower. Okay, I want that to go lower like that. There we go. And then these here, I would probably maybe bring these down just a little bit. Okay, this is assuming that I don't actually go in and modify it to look like this. I could actually go in and I could change the size and I could stagger them like this. I may end up doing that. I'm just not going to do it now. And then what I would do is I would take this guy here, I would select these two objects here, and I would go to my align panel and I would align them, okay? And then what I would do is I would take this guy here and align it to that, all right? And then you might end up having to do some adjusting afterwards. After I get it done, I might have to adjust these. But what I'm doing essentially is I'm aligning my elements. There you go. And then I move that over until it's in the proper position. I'm just basically doing some, you know, some basic housekeeping to get things, and move this over a little bit. And I didn't change these down here. I didn't really get around to changing them. I would actually go in and change them. And then I would, you know, move this over. And I'd keep doing that until I have all of them lined up properly. And then after I get done doing that, all right, I can grab this one. All right, and then align them. I have one that's missing, so I'd go edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and then I'd move it over. And then I would select these two together, and I would align them, and then I would readjust them all. And then I would select the last two over here, and I would align them. Now, if I wanted to, I could take all of these things here, and I would move them up a little bit because I think they're probably hanging a little too far off of the graphics that they support, which is probably a little bit better right there. There we go. And then maybe take this and move this down just a little bit like that. And if I wanted to, I could select this object right here and go edit, copy, edit, paste in place. And I could move that down to the bottom here like this, like about like that. And let's see, what did I have it saying? World totals. Okay, so I come back to here and I would change this to just read world totals. WORLDTOTALS, world totals. There you have it. And there we go. Maybe what I would do with this is, again, I have, if you take a look, I have my fill here and I have my stroke. And what I would do is I'd probably build that stroke up. See, I got a little tiny bit of that white peeking in the middle there. It looks kind of stupid. I'd come in and I'd make it a little bit bigger and I'd make that go away. That's all. And now let's take a look. There it is. There's my poster. Okay. My poster is basically done. Now, again, I didn't finish it. You could still see I'd have to go in here and I'd have to change. These are all changed. These would have to be changed. I believe these are all correct now. Oceania, North America, Middle East, Latin America, Europe. I probably would go in and redo this, make these a little bit smaller. These things here, what I would probably do is I'd come in here and I maybe would make them a little bit smaller. Let's see what it would look like. Let's bring it down to about 18, 14, 16, 14, 13. Let's make a 14 there. And I think what I would do with this, if I were going to really tweak this and make this look good, is I'd go to my character panel and I would come in here and I would track these things. See here? This is your tracking. I'd come out, I'd track them like maybe 25, let's see, 26. I'm just tracking them like this. That's probably too much. Yeah, that's good right there. Maybe a little bit much. So I'd come back in and I'd come back and I'd back off it slightly. Let's make it like 75. Let's try that. I'll actually make it 70. Let's see that. There. See, so actually, you know, once you get this thing worked out, it actually looks pretty good. Although I will be honest with you, I think in the end, what I would probably do is go back to this staggering kind of effect. I think it looks a lot better this way, and I would still add the totals beneath this. Okay, I'd still add the totals beneath it like I did over here. I'd add the totals. Now maybe what I might do is something like this. Let me do something and I'll show you. I'll do it with 4 of them. Let's go edit copy. And let's go to here and let's go edit paste. And there they are. So what I would do is I'd come over here and I'd situate that one right like that. And I'd come to Asia and I'd situate Asia something like that. And I'd situate Europe something like that. And of course this isn't Africa, this is the Middle East. So I'll change it so you can see it. MIDDLEEAST. There you go. Okay, so now you have your Middle East. So now you see you have your, and again I would make sure that I had these things placed center properly and the proper distance away from, you know, so that everything matches up really well. But you see how basically you come up with something which is a pretty nice looking infographic. So there you go. I didn't go into showing you really how to make this chart because again I can come in here and I can show you the data. Let me come in here and there's the data. There's just how I did it. I mean this one here is you know, it's still set to Africa. But it's actually Latin America. And of course I put a population in it, penetration, and all that information again comes right from here. This is all that you need here. You've got your world region so you can get the name of your continent. The populations are here. The population percentages are here. Internet users for that period of time, penetration rate, growth, and table of users. The only thing that you might want to do is you might want to add this information down at the bottom. I didn't do that. And you could also go in and you could reference, if you want, you could go in, I don't know whether I have it still here. Yeah, you could come in here and you could select this whole thing right here, copy it, and you could come in here and somewhere down at the bottom, click and Control V, paste it in. And now you have it, and let me make it white so we can see it. There we have it, and I'm going to move it into here, all right, and I'm going to change the size of it down to like 12 point, 14 point is good. and then I'll just position the thing. You know, I find a positioning for it somewhere in the neighborhood of here. You know, maybe go all the way over to the end there with it like that. Move it up a little bit like that. And I might even make it a little bit smaller. Let's make it 12 point. Move it over. Something like that. And it's regular. Yeah, Miri Pro regular. I think that'd be fine. Or make it italic maybe, you know. But at any rate, there you go. That's basically my poster. Yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but to be totally honest with you, that's basically how I did mine, and I hope I was able to show you some stuff tonight that maybe you didn't already know. But at any rate, there it is, and I will see you tomorrow night. So have a good night.